What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Magnetik here, and I got another tutorial for you. I know it's been a minute since I showed y'all a tutorial, but yeah, man. I mean, I've been playing so many doggone gigs these days. Haven't had much time to make these kinds of videos and still give y'all new music. But this particular one is going to be all about how I produced my new song, Brass Love. Now, one of the main things that I do when it comes to making new music is I always separate the sections. So, and what I mean by that is when I produce the track, I only produce the song. I'm not worried about mixing the song. I'm not worried about mastering the song. I'm only interested in putting down good ideas that make the song that makes it what it is. So like sound design stuff, I'll do melodies, chords, recording all of the instruments. That's the only thing I worry about at that point. So if the mix, I only make the mix good enough to be inspiring so that I can make more, just make the song better. After I finish recording and doing the sound design, that's when I'll start mixing it. So this tutorial is going to be broken up into two parts. I'm going to talk about, well, I might do three. Depends. Partially is because my computer can't handle crazy shit. So I'm going to break this up into how I produced it. Then it's going to be another video where I'm going to talk about how I actually mixed it. And then I may do a video on how I mastered it. Yeah, so let's get to it. And if you like what you hear, you learn something new, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And yeah, here we go. Let's get to learning some new shit. So this right here is Brass Love. And if you haven't heard it yet, go to Spotify and check out this whole thing. Or you can go to, I'll leave the link in the description to the music video where you can check out the full song. Okay. So I think the first thing I did with this song was actually come up with the bass line. Okay. So the bass line, now remember, I'm a trumpet player. So I actually recorded the bass line with the trumpet, and then I pitched it down an octave because the song is called Brass Love. We got to get all different kinds of brass in there. And I don't play trombone and I don't play tuba. But what I can do is play the shit out of the trumpet and pitch it down so it sounds like a trombone or a tuba. So let me show you what I started off with. So this is the bass line that I recorded. So that's me playing the trumpet. And then all I did right here is, and this is a cool feature that you can do in Ableton. It's so easy to pitch stuff down. All you got to do is click on the clip right here, and it shows up down here where this is the edit window. So now you make sure it's warped, and the different warpings will give you different kinds of sounds. When it comes to pitching an instrument down to make it sound like a different instrument, notice that complex works the best for me when I'm trying to get that trombone or tuba sound. So I make sure you warp. If you don't warp it, it's not going to really do it right. So you warp it to complex, and then you pitch it down 12 semitones, which is an octave, and it sounds like trombone. You see, it's pretty dope. So now, let me get this back to the right volume. And next thing is I layer all my horns. I didn't used to do this, but what I noticed is that when you layer the shit, it actually it sounds like a brass band. Like if you want the stuff to sound like a brass band, or you want to sound like a full band, you gotta layer. Vocalists, they layer their vocals. So horns, layer your horns. So I layered it. You see, it gives you, I don't know, it gives a vibe, it gives it more, it sounds like two trombone players playing the same bass line. And then that right there is not low enough to really give you sub. So I added a sub to that, which is similar to what I played on the trombone or the pitch trumpet, but it's a little bit different. It just adds that bottom end. So we got. You see what I'm saying? So when you put it together, they work together really good to keep the groove. You see what I'm saying? So that's pretty dope right there. Let's see here. Sorry about that. I know it was loud as shit in the microphone, right? So when I made the sub sound, now mind you, I basically just used the wavetable right here. This is a stock plugin in Ableton, and the shit works, man. Like some of the well, really all of the plugins in Ableton are really good, and you don't need to do much to make them really work well, you know. So all I did was turn on this little button right here that says sub and turn the tone up right here. And that gives you a let me turn that off here. And it gives you a little sub sound that's pretty good. If you can see that the tone knob right here, it adds harmonics to it so that you can hear the sound on like a computer speaker or something else on speakers that don't produce low end, so you can hear it, and it creates mid range just so that the song will sound more full in general. So I would always suggest adding distortion to your subs. Okay. Now I added more distortion too. I used the Ableton amp plugin, and that's what it sounds like. That's pretty dope. And then I put a low pass filter on so that I can get rid of some of the high end, because it was just a little too much high end clashing with some of the other instruments. And you know, that's pretty basic shit. You don't really need to hear that. So this right here is the bass build. Long note. Really simple, right? So this right here, I just bounced down one note with this sub and I pitched it. So inside of Ableton, if you double click it, you can see inside the edit window, you have clips selected and you go to transposition. And now you can make it so that it pitches however you want to. So I just did it at the end so it goes up. And speaking of pitching, I did that on my sub too, because let's see, right, where's it at? I think it was here. Yeah. All right. So at the end, of these notes, I put a pitch bend down so it would bend down to this note here, as opposed to just going to it. So that's how you get that barrel. You see what I'm saying? So pitch bending actually is pretty cool. It can add a lot of life to your tracks. Let's see here. What else I got? Oh, I got some drums here. So the drums, I was hearing kind of like a go-go type thing. So I kind of made that just with my drum. So it's really simple. I mean, if you listen to go-go music, you know what I'm talking about. So I made my kick drum inside of kick 2, which is what I usually do actually, because I don't know, I feel like I can get what I want faster when I go with kick 2 than when I try to find samples, because Then I'm just flipping through samples like, okay, next. This, I can kind of get this. I can get this in the key of the song really fast, make it sound how I want it to really fast. So, it's really simple. You got this little thing right here. You make it be the note of the song. The song is in F, so I pitch it down to F. And then I play with this little thing until I get what I'm looking for in terms of mid-range. So if you listen, see, you can get all kinds of different sounds with it, but I want to get it back to where it was before. So I think that was there. All right. That's where it was before. And let's see what we got. This is my snare here. So this is just a low snare, and I layered it with this snare to give it a tail. And when you add a kick, wrong kick. You see what I'm saying? So when you're layering snare drums, or really when you're layering anything, make sure that you layer stuff that has frequencies in different ranges. So like the pitch low snare drum sounds good with a high pitch snare drum, and the low pitch one doesn't have any reverb on it. So it's good to have another snare that has long reverb or has a long tail to it. So you gotta be putting these sounds. We gotta put these sounds together for a reason. Don't just be arbitrarily layering stuff like, oh yeah, I'm getting the sound I'm looking for. No, you're not. You're getting a mess. So it's just got to be a reason for it. And then I got the tom playing in the middle. Is that the right one? Nope, this is the tom. See? And when you put it together. So the next thing I did was I came up with a melody. And so I was really just thinking like a brass band vibe, like, because I live in New York. So, you play on the subway and you play in these brass bands, and it's like, the horns, the trumpet, the trombone, usually trumpet and trombone are really like carrying the melody. And a lot of times you're playing songs that singers would sing. So I was trying to think of a melody that was like what a singer may sing, but on trumpet, because I ain't feel like singing this time. So that all sounds like this together. See what I'm saying? So that's it, really. I just made the melody up, played that joint. Then there's the breakdown. On the breakdown, I added some chords. A feather in my face. So I added some chords to go with it, and I think I took the bass out. So these chords, I actually made this sound inside of Operator, which is another stock plugin in Ableton. This is pretty dope. It's a what's the thing called? It's an FM synthesis plugin or synthesizer. So it has its own way of doing it, but it's kind of hard to explain. This is the beginning of the sound, and all of this stuff modulates this pitch right here. So the sound sounds like this. Which is pretty cool. Now, here's a little cool trick. If you want something to sound like kind of like 80s or kind of lo-fi-ish kind of sound, you can kind of mess with the pitch. So when you mess with the pitch, you want it to like wave up and down, and it's real slight, and it's just enough to give it a certain kind of vibe, like a old vibe. So you can play with this little thing right here. I'll show you. You see that shit can get out of control, but it creates how I make the sound. It's really simple stuff. It's not that much different than a sine wave, you know. So then I had my build up. Yeah, so like, I mean, it's just the chords going on with the melody going on. And then we have this build up here. It's all about snare. I took the kick out. And right here, here's the build up, where the cool thing is at the end of the build ups, I add these pitch bends. So the snare will go up and the bass goes up. And I don't think I did it on this. Did I? No, I didn't do it on that. It was just the snare and the bass that go up. So watch.
1, 2, can you feel the love, baby?
So right there, this is a really fun fact, okay? If you've heard this song, I'm gonna let you know, this is where I got this sample from. This right here is the old vocal sample.
1, 2, can you feel the love, baby?
That right there is my mom. My mom was actually visiting from Cleveland. She just came and she was staying with me in New York, and I was working on the song and we were just chilling and stuff. And I was like, Mom, I recorded this thing and it sounds like shit. I need you to record it with your voice to see if it sounds better. And she recorded it, and I'm like, man, this is a million times better than when I did it. So I got this. This is my mom. Man. So Mom, if you're watching this, I gave you a shout out. Love you, Mom. So that's my mom right there saying, can you feel the love, baby? And right here is a fill that goes into it.
The love, baby.
A lot of times when you're going into different sections, you want to lead into the next section. You don't want it just to start. So like, you know, drum fills, transition sounds, all those different things really help to get it going. Something as simple as, you know, all of that stuff really helps, you know. So this is now the drop. And the drop I started off was the first half of the drop at least. Here's an 808 that I made. A lot of times I make my sounds from scratch. So literally this 808 is almost the exact same as this sub, okay? I just made it so that the sound with the amp. So if you look here, this is controlling this is the what is it? The amp envelope. So the sound comes in and fades out pretty fast. As opposed to if you have this all the way up. Oh yeah, and then the release helps a lot. You see what I'm saying? So that's really how you make a 808 from scratch. All you got to do is mess with the pitch. I mean, not the pitch, the amp envelope. Just make it so that it comes in and then goes out, and then make the release kind of long. Around a second usually helps. And then when you bounce it down to audio, you can kind of mess with it to be exactly the way you want to. I had to do that with this song too. Because remember, I'm producing. I'm not mixing right now. Produce first, mix second. Especially if you don't have a computer that is like super, super powerful. Like me. I mean, I have an i5 processor in here. It's a Mac, and this joint be wilding out if I do too much at the same time. So just throwing it out there. It'll save yourself a lot of headache if you don't mix at the same time. So yeah, I put the same amp distortion on it, and then the same filter on here too, just like the other one, the other sub bass. Oh, this is cool. Here is the chords. Now this is funny, man. Like sometimes, a lot of times, sounds, if you keep them simple, they sound great. If you try to get too complicated with the shit, it's gonna sound fucked up a lot of the times. It's just, or just like not like, it's just like, why? Sometimes, depending on what kind of music you make, those crazy wow kind of growling sounds are dope. But if you're making melodic music, I mean, sometimes, most of the time, you don't need all that crazy shit. So this is just a saw wave, 2 saw waves. This is kind of like between a saw and a square here that I put together with a filter on it. The filter is being controlled by, I think, envelope 2, right? Yeah, envelope 2 is controlling it, and it's the same kind of thing that I had in the 808. It's the same kind of thing. It just opens up and closes. Because if you open it up, as you can see, that sounds like complete fart. But if you have the wow, it has a groove to it. And it's real simple. You just detune it a little bit. 5 voices. I like to use the shimmer. What's this thing called? The unison for shimmer. It sounds pretty good. Yeah, I use it pretty often when I use Wavetable. And again, stock plugins. Use them until you can't use them no more. I use Serum sometimes, but sometimes I don't. Serum is really the only plugin that synth that I really own outside of the stock ones. And I've learned how to use that pretty good too. So then I recorded the melody here with the trumpet. Oh, right. We got drums here too. Again, these drums, you just make them follow the bass line, or you make the bass follow the drum pattern. And I'm still keeping the same vibe. Simple. And you can hear my horns. I just recorded the horns. This is a real simple melody that you can sing. Try to keep your shit simple. Here's the cool thing is when you're doing these transitions. So this is the first half of my drop, and it goes into this break. Oops, sorry. Here. So if you hear, I have that line, I have the drums going right here, right? And then here's a little thing. If you want to make the impact of a drop really hit, take a kick drum and reverse it right before the crash is supposed to start. Right before everything comes in again. And it adds, I don't really know what to say. It adds exactly what the word is, but it makes it so that the drop is more impactful. It's more or less like a fill going into it. Bam! You know what I'm saying? You get that, and it's like, damn, this is some bad shit. I just got to dance. That's what you say when you hear that. At least that's what I say. Jam. And here's another thing I do a lot of times is take a snare drum and reverse it. And then this little plug-in right here is great. Little micro shift. So if you listen to it without micro shift and you put it on there, see, it makes it pretty wide, and it does it in a way that if it was in mono, it doesn't like sound weird or phasey or anything. It sounds still cool. So I go from there into and it's just another variation of the first melody on top of here. And I switched that out to, I stopped using the 808, and now I'm going to the sub bass, and so I can have longer held notes. I got the drums, the kick drum, if you look, is following the hits here, right there. Bam, 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 right there. They follow the bass. The bass and the kick are one. Remember that. All right. You want to always make that happen. I mean, there's some variation. You can have a few that are different, but for the most part, you want them to line up together. And then here is the chords. And this is basically the same sound as the one that was short right here. It's the same thing. I just have it where it doesn't do that. You know? And then the melody goes on. And then it's over. And we go back to the same thing again. It's basically you just repeat the song again. I did the the song is just those 3 sections. Or really, I guess 4-ish, 3.5 sections, 2 times. And that's the whole song. But the second time I come back to the drop, I make it a little bit different. So when I come back to the drop, that's the beginning of it. And we go to our break. And now I add a fill in here. You see that? Adding little things like that really make a difference. So, you know, with that, now, I mean, I'm a trumpet player, but I play drums too. And I've played with some of the best drummers in the world. And I know what drums are supposed to sound like and what drum fills are supposed to sound like. So basically, this is a flam with bracada, bracada. So flam, triplet, flam, triplet. And it goes into a crash right here. This is going into the crash. So you see that? Just bam, bracada, bracada. I heard it in my head, so I wrote it out. And then I have the horns right here. Bum, 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 bum. Same thing, right? And then I do another break coming here. Now that's pretty cool. So here's a cool thing. With the reverse snare, you hear it's that triplet wah 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 like that. Sounds like a boomerang or something. What I did with that is I took the same snare drum as before, reversed it, and then I warped it. So I warped it into beats mode, and then I stretched it out to be the right length. So if you look, it starts right here. And at that point, that's where the brr is at. Oh, whoops, sorry. You hear that? Brr, what? So that is a send off. So it's telling you there's something about to happen. Brr, and then what, and then that leads into a snare hit. You see that? What, blah. And then everything comes back in. Bang. So these are like fills and breaks and stuff just to keep it interesting. So it's not the exact same thing. And that is pretty much the whole song. I mean, here's some white noise that I used. Cool little tip I actually got from that dude, Jonas Aiden. You get your white noise, you put an auto pan on it. I set it to 3/8 in terms of the time. And that way you can hear it better. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So this right here. Oh, wait, one more thing. Sine fall. That is a good way to cue everybody that a section is over. So if you heard that, this sine right here, if you don't have headphones on or speakers or something, you're not gonna hear that. So this is literally, I did this one in Serum. Oh, I made this one a long time ago and I just saved it. That's what it is. So it's just a sine wave and with a pitch bend on it. I got this right here, this LFO controlling the pitch right here. And it just goes down. It just goes boom. And if you put that at the end of a section, it lets you know that the section is over and we're going to be starting something else. I put it at the end of a lot of this stuff. But remember this, don't put this at the same time as a bass. Because if you look up here, I put it right there and there's no bass happening. If you overlay this with a bass, it's going to sound like shit. So only use that sine fall thing if there's no bass, if you take the bass out. Yeah, so that's that. So this right here concludes part 1 of how I produced Brass Love. And if you learned something new, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the notifications bell so you know the next time I put out a video. I will be putting out how I mixed it soon as well, probably in a couple of days. And yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.